Why Hindus are vegetarian. One of the defining features of India that sets it apart from all other nations of the world is that for thousands of years, a large majority of its people have been vegetarian. Thousands of years before PETA came into vogue, the Hindu people embraced vegetarianism and became earnest supporters for the ethical and compassionate treatment of animals. But why was this so? In this video, we will go through two extraordinary spiritual reasons why the Hindu system of yoga lays so much emphasis on having a pure vegetarian diet. The first reason I am going to describe is deeply profound but a little heavy on detail, so please bear with me. So why does Hinduism champion vegetarianism? Reason number one. The Hindu religion, as we know, has its firm roots in Vedanta philosophy. The singular aim of Vedanta philosophy is to place before a person a practical path following which they can come to realize their true self, whereby they can actually experience for themselves that they are not a perishable body, but that they are the Atma or soul, pure, infinite, eternal, that has never been born and which will never die. What's more, since the soul itself is an indivisible part of the infinite ocean of consciousness called God, therefore, realizing the soul is actually the same as realizing God himself. So keeping this goal of soul or self-realization in mind, Vedanta has prescribed the four yogas. Karma Yoga, or the path of unselfish action, Jnana Yoga, or the path of spiritual knowledge, Bhakti Yoga, or the path of devotion, and Raj Yoga, or the path of meditation. The aim of all four yogas being one and one alone, and that is to quell the perturbations in the mind. But why is it so important to quieten the mind? In the answer to this question lies the real explanation why Hinduism urges those on the path of self-realization to be vegetarian. So the answer is as follows. According to Vedanta philosophy, each of us is a composite of three things: an immortal Atma or soul encased in the successive coverings of mind and body. For more on this, see this video. Now the only way to directly experience our Atma or soul, revealed the rishis of Vedanta, is by controlling the mind. Swami Vivekananda has explained this fact further with a beautiful analogy. Swamiji tells us that the mind can be thought of as a lake in which the soul is trying to see its reflection. Think of the full moon as being reflected in the waters of a lake. When the surface is disturbed, we do not see the reflection clearly. In the same way, when the lake of our mind is agitated by waves of thoughts, fears, desires and attachments, then the mental lake becomes clouded and the soul cannot see its reflection clearly. And as a result, the soul comes to identify with these mental agitations and begins to think of itself as the body. But when through yoga and meditation, these thought waves in the mind are permanently calmed down, then the mental lake becomes peaceful and the soul can easily disassociate from the body and see itself. Once the soul has realized its true nature, it is no longer deluded by the happenings in this temporary world and is thereby permanently liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Thus, the whole aim of Vedanta philosophy, of its prescribed yogas and meditations, is to quieten the mind so that the soul can realize itself. Now, one thing that goes a long way in quelling the waves of the mind is what we eat. Common observation tells us that the food we eat affects not just the body but also impacts the mind. Take for example a person who has consumed a large amount of alcohol. Such a person's thoughts are greatly incoherent and their mind is no longer under their control. Similarly, after consuming too much caffeine, a person starts feeling unsettled and jittery. Spicy and sugary foods too rouse desires, because of which we end up craving for more. Thus, each type of food we eat ends up either immediately or in the long run producing a certain effect or change in our mind. This holds true for animal foods such as meat, fish and eggs as well. As Swami Chinmayananda has explained, non-vegetarian food is laced with many toxins that create agitations and disturbances in the mind. A simple look at nature highlights this point. We notice that elephants and cows that live on grass are quiet and peaceful, whereas tigers and other carnivorous animals that live on meat are turbulent and ferocious. Because animal food rouses passions and makes the mind restless, therefore a person who consumes non-vegetarian food will experience great difficulty in steadying the mind during meditation, work, study or worship. Their thoughts will wander to and fro, and he or she will have to exert a significant amount of willpower to make them stop and force the mind to concentrate. Those who have not cultivated such a strong willpower will find progress on the spiritual path extremely challenging. Therefore, with the aim of easing this difficulty, the rishis of India have advocated a pure vegetarian diet and complete abstinence from meat, alcohol, drugs, excessively spicy or sweet foods, along with items such as onions and garlic. Such a controlled diet is called a sattvic diet because it promotes the development of the quality of sattva, meaning purity, peace and calmness in the mind. By eating the right kind of sattvic food, a person on the path of self-realization can save tremendous time, energy and effort and hasten the process of bringing their mind under total control. So this is the first reason why Hinduism promotes vegetarianism. The goal is to make self, soul or God realization or samadhi easier to attain. A second equally profound reason has been offered by Swami Abhedanand, who was a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna just like Swami Vivekanand was. A Hindu, Swami Abhedanand has explained, is a vegetarian from the standpoint of love. Love means an expression of oneness. When we look upon another living being as an extension of our very own self, that is the only time when we truly love. Only then do we fully identify with their sufferings and therefore confer upon them the same or even greater rights, freedoms and privileges than we enjoy for ourselves. So Hindus love animals because they look upon them as an extension of their very own self. But how can this be? How can a cow or a deer be an extension of a human being? Let us see this next. In India, starting from the age of the Vedas many thousands of years ago, up until our present times, there have arisen many great sages who have consistently and repeatedly verified, based on their own meditative experiences in the superconscious states of samadhi, that the entire universe actually originates from one unifying and non-material substrate of consciousness, which the Vedas call as Brahman or God or the Absolute. As Swami Vivekanand has explained, in this ocean of consciousness, each of our individual Atma or soul can be thought of as a wave. Behind every human, animal, plant, even atoms of matter is a wave, a little bit of conscious intelligence or soul working. In matter, this consciousness is deeply veiled or dormant, whereas as we move up the evolutionary chain from plants, animals to humans, more and more of the underlying soul's intelligence and consciousness is being expressed. Next, and here comes the really amazing part, if we think about it, each wave is actually the whole ocean itself. This is because there is no way to demarcate where the waters of a soul wave end and those of the ocean of God begin. In other words, there is no boundary that confines my soul to a particular region. In fact, my soul continues like an endless ocean and forms the souls of all other human beings and even animals. It is for this reason that the Chandogya Upanishad declares that Tvam Asi, you are that, you are the infinite ocean of consciousness. It is you yourself, your very own soul, that is present in another human being, in the animal, in the plant, in matter, in sun, moon and stars. There is really no place in the universe where you're not. The whole universe is just an extension of your very own self, your own soul and your own consciousness. So it is on account of this recognition of the oneness and unity of our spirit with that of the whole of creation that Hinduism urges people to love not just animals but the whole of nature just as they love themselves. It is for this reason that many devout Hindus are vegetarian. They do not wear leather or hunt animals for pleasure, and it is for this very same reason again that plants, mountains and even rivers are worshipped as sacred manifestations of the divine Atma or soul in Hinduism. Now, one point to consider before we end is that in the normal course of things we are certainly not aware of the truth that it is our own consciousness or soul which is present in our neighbor, in the stray dog walking in the streets, or in the plant growing in our balcony. As a matter of fact, we always feel quite separate and distinct from everything else around us. This is because our consciousness is still restricted to a small range, since we are operating under the limitations of Maya, meaning space, time and causation. It is only when these bounds of Maya are transcended, as is done during self-realization or samadhi, that the experience of the oneness and unity of our individual consciousness with that of the whole of creation comes. This brings us to the end of our presentation. If you have further questions in your heart surrounding God, soul, consciousness, life or death, then here are some great articles on the website for reading. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.